I went viral 3 times in the last 5 weeks just because I'm talking about like random things that are happening in my day as a founder, as a growth leader in the industry, because people are interested in that. Human connection equals currency. And AI can't really connect with humans the way you can. So use AI for what it's super good for, which is to analyze large data sets, to extract those insights, and to predict and inform your follow-up strategies. But as a human who is leading the marketing charge, you want to make sure that you are speaking personally on a one-on-one basis. This is where AI comes in and tells you, this lead over here just did this high intent action. They're a hot lead. Pull out your demand messaging, your behavioral science messaging. That's curiosity. Hey, I saw you did this. Did you know that you can do this as well? That's scarcity. If you don't do this now because there's only a limited spot. Urgency, time is running out. And exclusivity, you are the VIP. You are the exclusive one to do this. So you're bringing in all these really cool levers and tactics and messaging strategies. I like to use like a plethora of behavioral science principles. One that I like in particular is called the I've seen Kina effect. And I use this at HubSpot in that successful trigger and automated workflow that we use. And it's really exciting to be able to have these sort of tips and tricks. I call them like superpowers or gold nuggets that you can use in your marketing to influence them for the next step. So if we don't have any robust tooling quite yet, so we're not using like AI Einstein in Salesforce, or we're not using 6 Sense quite yet, what I recommend for startups is just to use ChatGPT or an internal GPT. Study the touch points that are most correlated to pipeline conversion or that meeting or that trial. CTAs and demand are so misaligned. We were given permission to critique B2B emails. And there were so many emails that did this one mistake. The first step then means understanding and identifying where they are on the buyer's journey. A lot of folks, they are unclear on how to do that. Like, how do we know if this piece of content influenced a conversion? Hi, yeah, I'm Sheri Otto. I am a B2B growth marketing manager, and I also am a founder of a consultancy called Growth Lane Strategies, where I work with B2B SaaS companies and really understanding how to build their demand gen engine and bring people into their funnel, really alleviate the friction in their funnel, and then really convert those contacts into paying customers. And so there's a lot of mechanisms and levers that we pull inside there, but that's the gist of what we do. We get a really good payoff when we're able to book that call, convert that customer that's been kind of hanging around the business, really engage people and get them really interested in the value that my clients can provide. So it's really exciting, and I'm excited to talk to you today about go-to-market and partner-led strategies.
Yeah, so that's good. So tell us about your experience with you worked with HubSpot, right?
Yeah, so I worked with HubSpot for almost 2 years, and I was basically in their full funnel process. So I started out in the demand team, and we were using automations to drive demand. And in HubSpot, particularly, our goal and our metric was to increase qualified leads for the sales team. So we called them QLs, or qualified leads, at the time. And the goal was to really have those contacts book meetings. And so we worked specifically with email, and I was able to kind of understand how our freemium users were going about using the product for free, how they were engaging with some of the tooling and what their behaviors were like. And then we actually mapped a new workflow there that allowed people to allowed us to understand the signals that led to a qualified lead. And one of those signals was when contacts were uploading their own contacts in the CRM. And we identified that as a really core signal and built out a demand gen workflow based on that action. And that actually ended up being one of the top performing demand workflows out of 80 automated experiences for the company. And we were able to drive over 50 qualified leads every single month on automated. And yeah, it was a really good learning experience. And it taught me that you really want to use data to inform strategy and understand how people interpret your product and use your product, and what makes them a higher intent prospect, so that the sales team really focuses their time and resources on those contacts.
As you know, so AI is around now. and we have many tools that are available out there, and many companies that were actually exploring to use all of those tools and
Yeah.
building their marketing stacks at the moment.
Yeah.
So, what kind of shifts that you're noticing right now in building the GTM strategy at this point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely we need to be using the tools, and there's a plethora of tools
Yeah.
out there. We're not going to go into all, there's just too many to even talk about. However, these are the key areas that I would mention that we need to look for when either choosing an AI-based tool and then how to really implement that into your go-to-market plan. So number one, you want to make sure we're using AI to quickly extract the insights of those contacts who are engaging with some form of asset within your business, whether they're on your website or opening up your emails. These AI tools need to quickly extract the insights that allow them to predict who has the highest propensity to become a customer. So that's number one. You need AI to shorten that time frame for you. So manually, if you're doing this manually, that's the first thing I would say to not do, is to get a tool in there that is based on NLP, predictive analysis, and AI to help you synthesize the data of your contact database, help you then score those leads in a way that helps you prioritize outreach and follow-up strategies, and then really understand how you move forward, and then have AI sort of get stronger in their modeling over time and become sort of that partner for you. So those are the things that I would really focus on doing. A lot of times we get stuck in content creation, and yes, it can create content for you at scale, but when you're going to market, and especially specifically when you're going to market when you have a partner-led strategy or channel-led growth, you want to make sure we're all kind of, drinking from the same well when it comes to the data. So having that one platform that has one source of truth to pull out those very deep insights. And what I like to do, and this is what I did at HubSpot, was I pulled down all the contacts who became a customer within the last quarter, let's say. And then we want to reverse engineer and understand what are the correlations that they have in common, specifically to that customer conversion, and then sort of reverse engineer what that looks like for prospects and leads who are around your business, who are engaging with your company. So you want to ask those specific questions and have your AI tool help you identify those themes, those correlations, those propensities to become a customer, and score your leads so that you're more efficient when it comes to going to market.
Okay. So let's just get deeper into this partner-led model, and how is AI helping GTM leaders to build this partner-led motion with the AI?
Yeah. Well, AI is doing a lot of things, and it's allowing the AI it's so powerful in how it can detect actions that humans just can't do. And not just any action, like the high intent actions. So when you partner with the AI tools, whether it's Sixth Sense, Salesforce has their AI Einstein, there's so many out there. When you partner with these AI tools, they can alert you in real time, which is a huge factor, the timeliness of your follow-up, of when it's time to connect with your contacts and when it's time to sort of put them and segment out your contacts. So as a marketer, we have basic different tiers of contacts, and the AI can kind of put them in a tier based on, and then help you prioritize how you need to follow up with them. And not only does it help you prioritize and segment based on intent level, based on their actions, AI then can recommend for you. So it's taking another load off of you. It can recommend for you next best steps. And I've seen some use cases with HubSpot actually, where they were able to recommend based on the AI recommendations, what pieces of content should this contact get next, and then kind of quickly give more personalized experience based on the contact's actions. So the NLP, the predictive modeling, the machine learning, all of those things come into play when it comes to how we follow up, but also how it recommends next best steps. Now, of course, the humans, we are over the strategy, and we're governing the systems and the processes. But when it gives you that ability to have your time back and not have to manually think what piece of content or what next best CTA is appropriate, it allows you to be more strategic, and it allows you to understand the patterns and the trends that are surrounding your business. And that's only going to make you more efficient. So you're going to see your ROI go up. You're going to see your conversion rates go up. You're going to see people be more happy with you because you're more personalized with your follow-up. You're not just giving a random piece of content that may be or may not apply to what they're trying to do and those jobs to be done by the customer. You're giving them the specific things that they need to do their job in the buyer's journey. And those 6 jobs are: they have to discover your product, learn about your product, they have to evaluate your product, buy your product, engage, and become an advocate. And when AI can give you those toolings, insights, and recommendations, then now we're allowed to really spearhead and accelerate the results of our go-to-market strategies.
Okay, that's great. So let's just talk about some of the specific examples or use cases, and let's just take the case of early stage startups. So they can't really invest way too much into all of the tech stack, the tooling, and the models that are out there. So what do you recommend? I mean, obviously, if they have to extract the signal and they have to contact the right people at the right time, what are your recommendations at the point?
Yeah, so if we don't have any robust tooling quite yet, so we're not using like AI Einstein in Salesforce, or we're not using 6 Sense quite yet, what I recommend for startups is just to use ChatGPT or an internal GPT, because you want to have something internal. You have your company sign up for an internal GPT like Gemini or ChatGPT like Pro and Pro Plus. And what you want to do is just pull the records of your last customers that became a customer within a certain time period. Study the patterns and the trends. Study the touch points that are most correlated to pipeline conversion or that meeting or that trial. So whatever your business metric is, study as everyone have come through your process and they've booked a meeting, they've started a trial. You want to understand what all of those people have in common, and you can ask Gemini, ChatGPT to break down and give you and elevate or extract those commonalities. And then from there, so it's not fully automated and it's not fully manual. You're wanting to use AI to give you deeper insights that would take you so much longer to do. And so you want to ask questions like, out of these last 10 customers, what are the touch points they most have in common? And then you want to go there. So maybe it's everyone who became a customer, they all watched this particular video or attended this particular webinar. From there, as a marketer, you can double down on that experience. And so maybe more people need to see this video or webinar. And so maybe that's where you put your resources and you fund that more. Maybe you run ads to that webinar because you know that they're most correlated to a customer conversion later on. So that's what I would say, is just to use some internal GPTs, some custom GPTs, until you can get to the broader tooling, and just think about the commonalities, the patterns, and the touch points that your successful customers are going through, so that you're able to replicate and reverse engineer that process.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's just talk about intent, funnels, and demand automation at this point. So obviously, marketing is a lot about creating trust, and now you have the ability to create trust at scale. So what are your views about that? What are your recommendations at building automations that can lead to trust at scale?
Yes. Yeah. So people buy from those they know, like, and trust. We all know this. And in order to increase the level of trust in your contacts, and how you can do it at scale, is you want to use what we're calling behavioral science, or user psychology, human psychology, to help people to really kind of align with how people make decisions. And so I like to use like a plethora of behavioral science principles. One that I like in particular is called the I've seen Kina effect. And I use this at HubSpot in that successful trigger and automated workflow that we use. What that does is that reminds us that the human brain is more likely to want to, if they start a task, they want to finish it. Right. And so that's kind of like when you're up late at night and you have a to-do list and you only did 3 out of 5 things, you're thinking about those last 2 things because you really want to finish the task or you want to close the loop on something. But if you use that to your advantage, you can help people say, hey, I've seen you can kind of piggyback off of their action and say, I've seen that you've done these things, these actions. Now, if you want to complete the process, you have to do this other action, and they're going to want to do that because the human brain has a tendency to want to complete a certain task. And so if you use that to your advantage, you can get them to follow your lead. You can increase the likelihood of them trusting you because now you're creating your marketing that's aligned with behavioral science and how people make decisions. And other ways to build trust is just to show up with value. You want to just give value and go ahead and give the value that helps them achieve a quick win. When you can demonstrate that you can help them, they trust you more with the bigger things, and they will be willing to pay when it's time for that CTA of becoming a customer. So always be giving value. You're going to showcase your credibility. You're going to bring in your social proof. You want to create messages that align with how people make decisions. You know, there's another behavioral science principle called the commitment and consistency bias. Again, if people are taking action, that's a great leverage for you. You can say, hey, you've done this one action. Now and so it means that this is important to you. Let's continue because you started. And so we're using these sort of psychological frameworks in our messaging to get them on board and to influence them. And when they follow your lead, they'll continue. The more likely they are to say yes to something, they'll continue to say yes all along. You're building that trust, you're moving them down the funnel. And it's really exciting to be able to have these sort of tips and tricks. I call them like superpowers or gold nuggets that you can use in your marketing to influence them for the next step.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is like a secret to designing this demand automation. So
Yeah.
maybe if you can add more, because I missed the name that you
Yeah.
you used the framework. So can you please
I know
repeat that?
I know it's an interesting term, but
Yeah.
it's OV of Sian, SIAN, and then just Kina, which is KINA. I've seen Kina. And it
Okay.
just means that, yeah, humans want to finish a task and it
Okay.
bothers them if they don't finish a task. So use that. That is a huge one. That's exactly how my emails went for our demand automated workflow. And it was like, I think it said something like, I'll give you what the email said that was the top 3 out of 80. It was, hey, you've just completed your first milestone. Great job. You know, I didn't say great job, but it was like giving them kudos and praising their first action. But there's another problem. Oh no, you're not done. You still have more to do. So in order to complete your task, you need to do this next step so that you're complete. So like that was the premise and the concept of that email, and it worked, and it drove. And then more people were able to connect with the sales rep, and the reps were really of service. They were trying to help them complete and do what they already wanted to do. And I call this partnering in their pursuit. So it was good for them and was good for us as a marketer because we were measured on demand, and it allowed people to take action based on the previous action that they took. And I definitely recommend doing that. It's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So obviously for a B2B funnel to be working, there should not be any misalignments. So do you see any major misalignments that are there in the funnels, and where there are easy fixes and you can really gain most out of it?
Yes. CTAs and demand are so misaligned. I just did a podcast I just did a roast where we were given permission to critique B2B emails. And there were so many emails that did this one mistake. And I have to say, if I can share here today on your platform, I would say, like, when we're sharing CTAs, make sure your CTA is aligned with where the buyer is on the buyer's journey. So like the first step then means understanding and identifying where they are on the buyer's journey. There was an example of an email from a B2B team. And again, this was all very public. And they were talking about features of the product. And it was an introductory email, but it was going to someone who had already used the free tool. So they were deep in the business already. They were not new to the business. However, the email represented information that was for someone who is newer to the business. So there was a misalignment in CTA and messaging. And so I wanted to share that it's important to make sure that number one, you know where people are. So go ahead and do your segmentation. Use AI to make sure you have your onboarding sequence. They're going to get a certain kind of messaging for onboarding for brand new people who have used tools or they've done a middle of the funnel action. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry for the things. They are going to they're going to have a different type of messaging when it's middle of the funnel. Like maybe it's a follow-up from an event, or maybe it is a re-engagement sequence for contacts who maybe have talked to a sales rep and it's been 6 months and they want to re-engage them again. So make sure that you know where people are and then give the appropriate CTA. That is so important because that's the thing that breaks trust, is when you give them messaging that is not tailored to where they are in the buyer's journey, and more specifically, where they are in the jobs to be done by the customer. So if they're trying to evaluate your solution and you're giving them a CTA to buy, that might not be quite the right CTA. It might be here's a comparison chart that gives you, helps you evaluate or partner in their pursuit to compare your solution versus others, why you stand out, here are your accolades. So you know that they're evaluating based on an action. Hopefully AI can give you those details. Then you give them the relevant messaging to support them in that goal. And then there's a CTA to move them to the next step. So if they're evaluating, then you can say, hey, when you're ready, here's how we can continue this, and ask them to either purchase or get on a sales call. So it's so important to do that. I think we missed the boat on that just because we're not segmenting the right way.
Okay, and where have you seen AI falling short in the GTM? And what are the alternatives to that? And do you have any use case or example for that?
AI falls short when it comes to like generic messaging. I think it's funny. Like I think that people use AI so heavily to create content, which I think it's important, but it falls short with the nuances of connection, of storytelling, of one-to-one human relatability. And so that's not going to be replaced. Like we need to keep the way people are buying now in this era of AI is they need to feel in a connection, and AI it's machines, it's robotic. You have to really train your AI in your voice. And I do this with my clients. We do a brand voice guide. We make sure that the AI really knows our phrasing, tonality, all the linguistics, all of those things. And even still, we then tweak upon how we want to connect with our audience. Because I like to say human connection equals currency, and AI can't really connect with humans the way you can. So use AI for what it's super good for, which is to analyze large data sets, to extract those insights, and to predict and inform your follow-up strategies. But as a human who is leading the marketing charge, you want to make sure that you are speaking personally on a one-on-one basis. You want to make sure that you're feeling your brand and your personal brand feels real, relatable, and give them a glimpse into who you are. AI can't do those things, so you need to have that in conjunction with the AI.
Okay, so let's just talk about the utility of a personal brand in this age of AI now. Is it like getting more important, or what are your views about that?
Yes. Yes, I preach this so much. And I will say it is so important, even now more than last year and the year before, to have a personal brand. For example, if you are a company that has a presence on LinkedIn, you have your branded profile, your company page on LinkedIn, you want to be posting from a personal profile. The algorithms and the platforms are pushing personal connection. Therefore, you're not going to get as much reach on a business page versus a personal profile. You will get more exposure when it comes from a person. Why? Because businesses do business with people, or people do business with people, I should say. And the platforms know this. So therefore, LinkedIn is going to be able to share your post when it comes from that profile. So personal brands are huge. Because of AI, people are becoming jaded with a lot of content, especially the content that feels salesy. And sometimes the prettiest content, the most well-designed content, can still be sort of a turnoff because people are so jaded and they are sort of guarded when it comes to very polished sales type of content and graphics and posts. So we have to flip that on its head right now. We have to change that and think about, how can I bring people in to my company, my business? Right before this call, I was just doing a quick video with my little tripod here, and I was just kind of showing behind the scenes on what I'm doing today. If you can create behind the scenes materials and kind of bring them into your business, show them what's really real, that is what connects you. And again, human connection equals currency. So you want to be able to have a personal brand on LinkedIn. If you want another tip for that, I would say use video on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is pushing video. And again, it's not like the fancy, high professionally designed and edited production. It's really just using your phone and sharing what you're doing. I think that's the stuff that performs. I went viral 3 times in the last 5 weeks just because I'm talking about like random things that are happening in my day as a founder, as a growth leader in the industry, because people are interested in that. LinkedIn sees that and then pushes it out. And I've had 2 have almost 9 million impressions because people are just really watching that, and they're focused on watch time. So that's a huge like call to action and call to arms, is to have a personal brand. Try to use video for your personal brand. I think that's going to be huge, and it doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to be real. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So it needs to be real. I think that's a very good insight. So, so you went viral. You mentioned. So, what were the topics? It was were those topics very much focused towards your niche, your business you're in, or is it like more towards your life in general, or what are you up to? So, what were the topics? Yeah.
Yeah. So the 2 that one had 982 impressions, like almost 100,000 video views. That topic was, this is my workplace. I literally took them around this room and showed them what was here. And we were putting up, you can tilt it. We were putting up these soundboards that you can see. And I showed them the process of putting that out, because I had a picture there, and I showed that. And it got almost 100,000 video views on that. So it was just so, like, I didn't have to like go and buy it. Like, I just was showing them what I was doing. It was like a weekend project. The other one that had more like 900 and something thousand impressions and a ton of video views was talking about a workplace experience. I literally had gotten off of a meeting and I needed to process my thoughts. And instead of like journaling, I made a video about it. And that one just off as well. And then there's one that's going viral right now. And that one is about like just kind of like my old self, like career advice. So it's not specific like demand tips or marketing value, but what it does is it introduces people to me as a person. And then from there, if you have your profile funnel, they can see, and you have a really good headline, and you have even a lead magnet, you can bring people to you first, because social media is a social platform. It's an environment to connect. Once they connect with you at step 1, step 2 is, oh, I see that she's a go-to-market leader, or she works with B2B companies in demand. Oh, and here's a free resource. Let me learn more about. So those are like the sort of the steps that you can take, I think, when it comes to, it's not a hard sell. It is, here's who I am. This is my workplace. This is what I do. This is what I think. And if you like it, great. And if you want to learn more about like how I serve my clients, because maybe you know people who need help with this, it is very widespread, then you can learn more about me, and you have your sort of your profile very optimized for what you then do. That's kind of how it works on social.
Oh, okay. And just for the user perspective, we were talking about LinkedIn, right? Not TikTok.
Yeah. We're talking about LinkedIn. If you are a B2B and you're on LinkedIn, yes, I'm viral on LinkedIn many times. The other platforms have a different algorithm. They have different audiences. It's good to have presences on other places and repurpose content according to your content calendar and your ability to repurpose content. But yeah, specifically on LinkedIn, They are pushing a brand new feature called Trends. And I just did a video about this last night. And you can get in early. You can still get in now. You can post on their trends categories. They're trying to be more like TikTok.
Okay.
But it's not a lot of volume. I'll tell you a stat, only 2%. So LinkedIn just reached 1 billion users. Only 2% of those users are active, meaning that they post more than once a week. So if you just post once a week or twice a week, then you're more active than all of those folks. And so than 98% of the user base. And so you want to make sure that it's a good opportunity to get in there. I'm working with my clients on that. We just did a video for them. So yeah, you're going to be able to get in and get volume and get in front of your audience if your audience is on LinkedIn.
Okay, so are B2B businesses moving to TikTok?
Here's what I would say, and I just heard a podcast about this. These are good questions.
Okay.
TikTok is fun, but as far as and I think it's good to have a presence. Yes, I do think it's good to have a presence on TikTok. I have a TikTok, but I would say if you're looking for revenue producing platforms, you're gonna think about LinkedIn and Instagram. TikTok, you can drive people to your Instagram. But I think there was a stat out when they were comparing platforms and where you are more lucrative as far as a B2B brand generating revenue. People are not on TikTok necessarily to buy things, except if it's e-commerce and products based. So like I buy stuff all the time, like equipment and stuff like that. But if you are a B2B company with a sales process and have funnels, TikTok will be for fun. It won't be necessarily, especially if you're a scale up business, it will be for just having fun. I like to use TikTok to test. So I posted one video on TikTok today. That's the one that's going on LinkedIn tomorrow. In case I need to tweak something, I test on TikTok. It's doing well. It literally is talking about how to go viral or how to get more exposure on LinkedIn. I put it on TikTok because it does not penalize you for posting duplicate videos or deleting it off of there so you can get the video recording. So I do a lot of like playing around and testing my content to see what hits. And then if I forget like a title or captions, I'll learn from my feedback from TikTok. Then I'll post what it should look like on LinkedIn. So that's what I would say for those. I mean, you can do research, but that's kind of what I found. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of, let's just talk about, we're talking about videos. Let's just talk about videos. So there are quite a few tools that can use your images and some voice and can build those videos. So are those tools working at the moment or no?
I would say it's all about testing. And I would bring us back to the point of realness and not overly produced things. If you look like an AI, I mean, people are not, from what I'm seeing as far as like engagement rates, like people are just, some of the best stuff is just literally you sitting in your car filming a video like for 2 minutes, like just nothing. So, and even pictures too, the pictures that are not like posy, like don't hire a photographer, like just be canned and stop and don't try too hard. The ones where you're not trying too hard are the ones that are going to bring people in, because again, people are guarded and they're sort of like put off by like overly produced content that looks like you're trying to sell them. Everyone's like very weary of being sold on social media. Think about it. You go to social media to relax. You don't want to be sold. You want to relax. You want to doom scroll. You want to unwind. You're there to connect, maybe catch up with your friends. You're on there with your guard down. So if they see something that looks like, oh, this is too produced, this is too perfect, then their guard goes up. So whether it's video or pictures, I would say keep it casual and relaxed. And I mentioned the word casual in my video. And it's just like, and just be yourself. And sometimes I use a script, or you can use a script, and sometimes you just talk based on like how you're thinking and feeling. And those are the things that do really, really well coming from your own experience. The one that went viral the second time was just like, hey, this happened, and I wonder how I should be thinking about this. And I invited people into the conversation. And I was like, well, here's the big lesson that I'm learning from this experience. What do you think? And that's literally how the video went. And people were like, oh my gosh, I think about that too. Or, yeah, you're right. Well, what about this? So I would say the key word here is relatability. Like, relate to people, bring people in, and that will help you get more exposure. And then later on in the comments, you can put in your link to your funnel or your resource. That's fine. Or you can go in the DM. You can literally like, hey, thanks for the comment, and go in the DM. And I call this method engage with the engage. So if they commented on your post, you can go DM them and say, thanks for your engagement. What resonated with you? I'd like to connect with you, and start that. You could start a cold outreach based on how you're bringing people into your video.
Okay. So for B2B, and we are specifically interested in the early stage startups, what's the ideal funnel at the moment? What's the content on for top, the middle, and the bottom? How would you think about building those at this, pretty much at this juncture of the time?
Like at the general level? Yeah. So top, middle. Okay, so top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. So we were just talking about social media content and how my content was very sort of personal and not necessarily giving tips at the moment. That's what I would consider top of the funnel content. So let's start at the top. Social media, you're going to have top funnel. It's going to be about engaging, connecting, relating. Engaging, connecting, relating. What kind of content that helps you engage? Was it an experience? Great. Was it what you're doing a day in the life? Great. Right now I'm doing a podcast. I might post about it, right? So things like that, top of funnel. Sometimes you will get where you're sharing tips and you want to ask questions. The goal is to have short, engaging, relatable content that helps people, brings people in, gets them to know you from a personal level. And then those things are really good for top of the funnel. As we move to the middle of the funnel, now you're bringing people into your email list. This is so underrated, and I can't state this enough. And I don't know why more B2B brands don't prioritize their email list. I email my subscribers every single week at least. It is your mid funnel. This is your selling base. You sell here. You don't necessarily sell at the top of the funnel with the social posts. You sell in the middle. And another point is, so I would nurture those leads, make sure they're getting a cadence from you, make sure you're giving value to them. Value builds trust. Make sure you're asking them, hey, if you want to work with me, here's my calendar link, and we can learn what that looks like. But make sure you're building up middle of the funnel content. Those are your emails. You need to send emails. You need to send them weekly for the most part. Other middle of the funnel content pieces are things that require a deeper time commitment. Think about webinars. Think about case studies, reports, lunch and learns. I have a resource called 22 middle of the funnel ideas. I'm happy to share that with your audience. It just is a PDF of all these things that you can do in middle of the funnel. These go to people who have showed some indication that they're interested in what you're doing. It could be just opening an email. Give them that middle of the funnel piece of content. Let's move on to the bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel content, that's my favorite. That's how I pull out all of my demand strategies, including the behavioral science tips, things that I did at HubSpot for their workflows and how we drove qualified leads into pipeline. Those are your messages in your demand marketing automations. So this is where AI comes in and tells you this lead over here just did this high intent action. They're a hot lead. Pull out your demand messaging, your behavioral science messaging. That's curiosity. Hey, I saw you did this. Did you know that you can do this as well? That's scarcity. If you don't do this now because there's only a limited spot, or that's urgency. We only have a few scarcity is we only have a few spots left. You want to move in. Urgency, time is running out. And exclusivity, you are the VIP, you are the exclusive one to do this. So you're bringing in all of these really cool levers and tactics and messaging strategies, not only in your emails, but also in your sales conversations, in your outreach messaging. That's your bottom of the funnel content. And sometimes like webinars can be bottom of the funnel as well. Your ads that are retargeting ads. So you're retargeting folks who have done things in your business that are high value, that AI is telling you that's high value. Those are your ads, and those are the things like that. So you want to have all of these pieces of content lead to the next stage, and then having those intent signals allow you to become aware of what they're doing. So follow-up is automated to those people. And this is all built out on the front end. Before they do these things, you map your customer journey from top, middle, and bottom. And if you guys need help with that, I can surely give you a map it for your business and allow you to see what those processes look like and when you should be following up, how you should be following up, and then how you track demand on the bottom. So it's really fun. I love doing it. I love
No,
talking about
we
it
all.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, every marketer loves the bottom of funnel discussion for sure. Uh,
That's where the money happens. That's where the deals
yeah,
made.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so let's just talk about some other use cases. So I think you mentioned somewhere working with G2 reviews and how
Yeah.
to turn those into some sort of social proof, and
Yeah.
that goes with your demand gen engine. So just tell the audience more about that.
Yeah. So let's say we did a G2 campaign at Redwood actually, and we were able
Mhm,
to go from like we were able to get in the top 9 out of, I think there was like
mhm,
100, over 100 people.
mhm,
And the reason why we were able to do that is because we were able to understand, basically data mine for what people are needing and wanting,
mhm,
understand our audience from a product level, like what are people using more of, what
mhm,
parts of the product alleviate the biggest pain point, and how that translates into their goals. So their psychographics, like their goals, their desires, their aspirations, all those things. And when you data mine, kind of like we talked about before with AI giving you those insights, then we're able to sort of reposition our product in a way that allows people to say, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need. And then we kind of create it that way. And those you can see those reviews kind of come up. Even if we didn't fully transition or update the product, we're able to update the positioning of the product. And that increases the desire of the product. And we were able to do that and allow people to see, hey, we do all these things, but I know you're really focused here. So we're going to kind of focus here on our messaging as well and mirror what is most important to you, and then allow you to experience that. And then we gather feedback from you. And then that fuels the marketing, the social proof, and the reviews online on some of these platforms like G2 and these review sites. People see that, they're like, oh, something's here that that I need to check out. And they do that. We highlight that, and that helps spearhead our demand efforts. And I will say that social proof is such a huge lever, especially in demand, when people are on the fence and they're trying to choose between you and other solutions. If you can slide in a quick testimony, a quick G2 review, even a comment on social, and screenshot it. Like, I think people should screenshot more of their comments, like the compliments that they get. Use that in your email. Use that you put that on your page. Like, screenshot
mhm.
a compliment from someone in your network or your contacts or your customers, and then start using those as testimonies, because people really gravitate towards wanting to follow social proof. Like, if other people are doing it, it must be good. People are not, and goes back to behavioral science. People don't want to make mistakes. You want to de-risk the opportunity. In order to de-risk the opportunity, having reviews everywhere throughout the funnel, really, and especially middle to bottom, it's really going to help you with conversions later on.
Okay, so let's just talk about now KPIs. And
Yes. Okay.
so in terms of just to check if your GTM and your content is influencing the revenue or not. So what KPIs would you recommend that every marketer should be aware of and should be should be focused at?
Yes. So when you are measuring your marketing ROI, it's really important. A lot of folks, they are unclear on how to do that. Like, how do we know if this piece of content influenced a conversion? And so a couple of metrics that I want to leave us with today is just understanding the key touch points in your journey. So after you've mapped your journey and you know that going to this webinar is really influential in getting the contact to become a customer, then I want you to measure with this metric, like, what is the lead to attendance rate here on this webinar? What's that like? What's the entry percentage coming into this webinar? And then from this webinar, what is the conversion rate of webinar attendee to demand? And so you're tracking the conversion rates for these key touch points in the buyer's journey. And you want to see that increase over time by tweaking things, and marketing can help with positioning, messaging, the way we drive demand in the actual event. So QO conversion rate, and then lead to event or lead to page conversion rate is really key. Another thing that's key is like pipeline velocity. And so you want to measure, the sales length, the average order value, and the conversion rate to book that meeting all at once, so we understand how fast your contacts are coming into pipeline. And then at the end, on the back end of that, what is just the customer lifetime value? So like, did they stay around? Is this a really good quality lead because they've stuck around for a year or more? That's what you want to measure. But backing that back up to a marketing perspective, understand those touch points and those conversion rates on those key assets are going to be huge. You want to go more than just clicks and impressions. You want to go, how do people move through your top, middle, and bottom? So at HubSpot, we actually measured, we had 2 different workflows. So these are automated workflows that were very separate. And if a contact did a certain high intent action, I think it was like 2 things they had to do in order to be deemed or qualified as a higher intent lead. If they did those things, they would then automatically enroll to the second workflow, where they would get another set of messaging tailored for them because they were deeper in the funnel. So we measured the percentage and the rate at which contacts went from the top of the funnel workflow to the middle of the funnel workflow. And that tells us how quickly contacts are moving down funnel. And if you can measure that, then you can understand how well your marketing is working.
So, I mean, it was a great talk, to be honest. I mean, I've actually learned a
Did you
lot.
learn a lot today?
Yeah, awesome. It's been very, very value adding. So, anything that I missed, I should have asked and you wanted to add?
No, we cover a lot of great things, including video, which I'm glad we got to too. I think the metrics
Okay.
thing is really, the CTAs, the metrics, understanding the
Yeah.
value of your content, and how to use AI to extract the insights you need to be a better marketer. I think they're all really valuable. So we kind of covered the gamut today. Super excited
Okay.
to have been on the
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the audience, where they can find you, and
Yeah.
if they want to reach out.
Sure. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can
Mhm.
find me on LinkedIn, Sheri Otto. My website is growthlanestrategies.com, and then all the
Mhm.
platforms. My handle is just Sheri Otto. So Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn are just Sheri Otto. Feel free to message me. There'll probably be some cool resources that you can grab if you like. We've got Funnel
Sure.
Fix, which I think we talked a lot about funnel here today. So we've got that
Mhm.
funnel fix resource that allows people to like fix their funnel quickly all on their own and identify where those sticking points are. So that's also
Mhm.
really good. You can find that on my profile. Yeah.
Okay, so Sherry, that was great talking to you.
Thank you so much, Saad.
Okay,
Have a good rest of your
yeah.
day. All right.
Have a nice day. Take care. Bye bye.